What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. If you guys aren't watching Walking Dead right now, you better be getting ready for tomorrow's episode of the Clint Cronin Show. With me right here, I have Nima Moridi, the Ninja Realtor, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu practitioner, real estate mogul in development.
In the house.
And this weekend, you competed in a little tournament. We had Naga in San Jose. We had a couple guys from the academy compete from the One World, aka Sunnyvale family. And we also had UFC 209 this weekend, which had a little bit different card than a lot of people expected, with the co-main event sort of evaporating into space very short notice. So, quite a few things to cover today. So first off, welcome to the show, Nima Moridi, the Ninja Realtor.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm stoked to be here.
So you may know him from a soon-to-be viral Instagram photo that needs to spread of you. So, a little background on this. It's a Hollywood Walk of Fame. I want to say it's Bruce Lee's star. And I see what
Chuck Norris.
It was Chuck Norris. Okay. Now I see what looked like one of those kids from commercials in the early 90s with, like, you had every color on. There might have been a mullet, big glasses.
Yeah.
And you were doing a full front split in front of the Chuck Norris Hollywood star.
Thanks, Dad.
So first off, I'm guessing with that flexibility and you in the martial arts, aka now you're a big martial arts fan growing up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I got a first degree black belt in Taekwondo. I did a lot of Taekwondo in the 90s. And my father, actually, he's always been talking about efficiency and always multitasking and things like that. So when I was a kid, if I wanted to watch TV, he always brought in two chairs and told me to do the splits on them and watch my Ninja Turtles or cartoons or whatever the case may be, or Power Rangers and do that. So he's the one who wanted me to do that in that picture. And looks like it has gotten viral, courtesy of the fiance that put that out there. So thank you.
So Power Ranger, which, real quick, off topic, favorite Power Ranger?
Favorite Power Ranger, Red Ranger.
Red, really?
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
Total Green Ranger fan here.
Didn't you meet him or talk to him or have him on a podcast or something like that?
I haven't, but I think I should.
You should.
I Jason David Frank. I hope he's in the new movie. I'm totally going to see that new movie.
I heard about that one. Didn't he train MMA? I remember you told me something about him that was interesting. I'm just trying to remember.
Oh, he owns the brand. I think Jesus Didn't Tap, and he's fought pro MMA. I think he's undefeated, like 4-0 or 2-0. I mean, he's definitely fought. He has lifelong martial arts experience, because like that whole crew of that whole cast of crew, whatever, even though the Power Rangers in uniform were not the same actors as the Americans, like they had two shows, a Japanese show and an American show. Those American actors were actual martial artists. So like that guy can kick some ass, and so could the original Red Ranger too. Like I've seen Austin St. John, he didn't do MMA obviously, but the Green Ranger did. Anyway, nice. So martial arts fan growing up, the split over the chairs. Have you ever seen the Van Damme lift?
Yeah. I think that's where he got it from.
Can you do the Van Damme lift, right? People that don't know, you do a full front split between two chairs, one on either leg, and then you basically double-handed deadlift a dumbbell up to your chest from the floor.
Damn, son.
So it's actually not Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's Rob Van Dam has the world record for that. I guess he invented that lift, but I think he was able to pull up 145 or 165 pounds.
Wow. That stuff's incredible. And seeing those pictures want to make me get back into yoga, because I think yoga with flexibility is super critical and great. And I know a lot of people talk about it. Vu from the gym, he always preaches it and tells me to go with him. And it's something that I've been trying to fit in the schedule, man. I think yoga's great. And have you done that lately? Yeah.
So I have a lot of yoga stretches. I don't go to yoga classes necessarily, but I have a lot of yoga poses that I incorporate into sort of my lifting and my jiu-jitsu, my warm-ups, my cool-downs. Between sets on deadlifts and squats and stuff, I have a yoga mat right in front of the rack. I'll do nice. Back bends and bridges and things like that, just to keep the spine loose before, during, in the middle of sets.
Yeah, and the breathing. I mean, back to the tournament that you mentioned, what you kept telling me to breathe. Just be mindful of my breathing, and I think yoga is super critical for that. And that's something I need to work on. When you get a little nervous or something big is happening, you forget to breathe. I think that's the first thing that goes, which shouldn't be, but maybe it's human nature. But it's something that I definitely need to work on.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think many people know how to breathe. I mean, you get by and you get enough oxygen to not die. But when you're doing something like jiu-jitsu, when you're doing something like weightlifting of any type, in yoga especially, the breathing is critical. Breath, right, is a big part of yoga. I mean, there's the practice itself, but then the breath is a whole part of yoga. It's not just the posing and stuff. It's not just the stretches. So with Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the same thing. I mean, most people, when they start out, every time they're going to do anything, they think about it. They stop. They take a big, deep breath. They inhale and start going.
Yep.
At that point, you've already done 3 things, right? And you've telegraphed the move. So any sort of advanced or experienced jiu-jitsu or martial artists, they're going to see that and they're going to capitalize. As soon as you tense up for that, they already know what you're going to do. They know you're going to move and you're going to get swept or taken down while you do it.
Yeah. I had that happen to me even yesterday, and I totally caught myself like not breathing. I'm like, yeah, excellent. Like took this huge breath.
Yeah, we have some guys that are super strong and they still do it. You have to remind them all the time because they'll take a big inhale and you're about to, get some kind of pressure on you. They'll look right at you. They'll look at your wrist. They'll look at wherever, look right down your abdomen. They'll take a deep breath. This guy is going to try to open my guard. He's going to try to, compress my chest or whatever with whatever grip he has. And at that point, as he takes that inhale, that's my cue to move, to kind of get a little bit loose and to get ready to telegraph that energy. Right. I arm drag and sweep a lot of people as they take that big breath.
Oh, wow. So a lot of it is in the timing.
Well, you're breathing or you're doing. You're not doing both. So if you're taking these deep breaths, if you're not breathing properly anyway, so if you take a big inhale, really good example is watch the Diaz brothers. Those pitter patter punches they throw, the 50 or 70%, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Those guys, as you take a breath, they smack you. That's why they're just quick, like just snapping punches. If you watch Frank Shamrock and Nick Diaz, every time Frank tried to take a breath, he was just catching them little jabs, and it was enough to where he was getting no oxygen. He wasn't getting hit with power shots, but he was drained. Right, the mental frustration, the fatigue that comes along with it.
I think that's really interesting because I remember watching one of their throwback fights on the UFC Reloaded, and Joe Rogan kept talking about how they go with volume. They just keep on getting in your face, throwing those punches, taunting you right while you're trying to breathe and regain your ground. And I mean that's an interesting fighting style. Actually, I remember meeting that guy Richard Perez, their boxing coach, right after the UFC fight nights. Yeah, at Mikuni. Me and the fiance were out over there. By the way, Mikuni Sushi. Shout out to Mikuni Sushi. No, they're great. They have good food. But we were over there, and it was like a who's who of MMA. Everybody, I guess, in Northern California, actually even Southern California, because Cup Swanson was there. Me, her, and Jason Yago and his girl. We all went over there, and first person I met was Richard Perez, and he kept talking about boxing and stuff, and knowing them and knowing how they fight, that was something that was really interesting to me to get into his gym and kind of see how he trains. He has a gym up in Manteca, he was saying. So, yeah, come on in. I'm there from 9 to 4 or whatever.
Nice
guys.
I feel like boxing is kind of an underrated skill, and just in MMA, as it is. I know Muay Thai is huge. A lot of guys have great kicks, but so the head movement, the footwork, finding your range and all that stuff in boxing, I feel like having that experience, knowing how to move on your feet, applies really well to jiu-jitsu as well. Sort of seeing where you are in terms of your opponent, finding angles, finding your range, hand fighting, right?
Yeah.
Totally. So all that stuff. So having that boxing experience, and I actually feel like getting hit, knowing how you respond to getting hit in the face. I feel like a lot of people don't go all the way into their attacks, like their standing attacks or throws or takedowns, because they just kind of close their eyes and look at the floor. They're afraid of that contact. So they wind up either, shallow or halfway in, and they get stuck in the middle and sprawled on. So
it's kind of interesting going from like a striking background to a grappling background, because that's who I am, right? I mean, even after Taekwondo, I went into boxing for a few years. When I was living up in Oakland, I went to a gym called King's Boxing. I was there for a while, and teaching you to keep your chin down and right in the positioning. And then when you get into grappling, you keep your head down, you get locked in. I mean, you're like guillotine bait. And it's really interesting going from that to this and seeing, kind of like the differences. But I totally agree with you. I think boxing is super critical. It's really important, as is Muay Thai. And, I think all aspects of martial arts, it's good to know them. But one thing I love about jiu-jitsu, it's definitely the hardest thing I've done out of all the martial arts, and which I guess makes me want to do it even more and more just because I want to improve. And there's just so much. And it's so crazy to someone like me to see a guy like you who, let's say, 12 years of just jiu-jitsu under their belt, they get their black belt, and then all of a sudden they're like white belts again, like you mentioned it. And it's a never-ending learning process. And for me, that's awesome, and it's incredible, and it just gets you so motivated all the time to get on that mat and keep learning.
Yeah, it's really easy to become complacent, right? Mm-hmm. You get to a certain level and you see how you do with your peers in the gym, and you see how you do here and there, and it's really easy. That's why there's so many fat purple belts.
Yeah.
And
you warned me about that. You said, Nima, you keep coming in, you're showing up to warm-ups on time. You keep doing that because don't skip out on this. And I'm always mindful of it, like I'm looking at the clock when I'm about to leave the office and head over to do jiu-jitsu. And I always want to make sure that I'm not late to warm-ups too because of that, because of the things that you had mentioned. And it's also the whole injury thing, right? People rushing through stuff.
Yeah. I don't like to get on the mat and move around and really do anything unless my neck and my knees at bare minimum are gassed up or warm.
Yeah, totally.
They're the easiest ones to go, especially just with the type of movements we do. Your hips, I mean, unless you've had a hip injury or something like that, they tend to get warmer a little bit easier, and unless you're doing some kind of really crazy weightlifting or something, or just making sure you get the rest and get the warm ups. It's a big thing.
Yeah, man, I got to get those horizontal. I forgot what you call it, that hip workout that you make us do. That horizontal. I call it the horizontal samba dancing.
Oh, it's just a lateral hip escape move. It's basically you're trying to maneuver or hip escape or change direction, or basically just move without having to check your foot either to your opponent or to the ground, without having to establish a hook, right?
No wonder I can never pass your guard.
Just do it more, right? So it's the guy drilling their and practicing and perfecting, or it's hard to say perfecting, but trying to anyway, their whatever technique versus the one you're trying to do. So if somebody's armbar attack is better than the other person's armbar defense, that person's generally going to win. Or you could say you try 10 times and fail 9, you still win, right?
Yeah. And it's so crazy, like doing Naga this weekend. It was my first jiu-jitsu tournament, and wow. I mean, I'm blown away just by how much I learned about myself, about how to pace myself during a match. I think that first time around, I went a little too hard, wasn't breathing well. And I really wanted to get this guy right. So I kept going for the submission, just top control and everything. And I didn't pace myself. And so now, going back to the gym tomorrow, I'm going to be mindful of that. I'm going to be mindful of my aggression, how to pace myself, not just let myself get pushed over and just attack from my back, but just be more aggressive overall. And it goes back to what you say, what Mike said, what you said, what Vu says, what Jake says about, hey, compete. You got to know, right, where you stand and what to work on. And now I see what you guys are talking about.
You just got to get out there. It's really easy to just go through your entire career, your entire, time as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, any martial art, or anything like that, and not compete, to just sort of do something, right? Make it part of your routine, because it falls into your routine pretty seamlessly. I mean, you go to work, you go train, you go home. By the time you get home, you're nice and relaxed, no fighting with the missus, everything's all good, right?
Yeah.
And for jiu-jitsu wives out there, like, that's when you're going to ask for the credit card. That's when you're going to ask, like, hey, could you do X, Y, or Z, like, after he's done training? And not as soon as he walks in the door, because when you're done training, the first thing you're thinking about is three things. First thing I think about is 3 things. I caught that, right? I'm not illiterate. I caught that there's 3. They're thinking about 3 things. 1, water. 2, food. 3, and probably the first thing, shower.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
So
it's hard for me to eat. It's hard for me to eat right after the gym with the guys, is because I just want to rush home and take a shower. Yeah,
I'm always late to those after training meals. I live right by our academy, which is a good thing and a bad thing. There's 10 to 50 reasons why it's a great thing. There's a few why it's not that great, and they're also pros as well as being cons. But I always want to shower after training. It's really easy to just go from 24 or wherever for weights, or to AKA to train, and then do weights in the back. A lot of times I'll teach the fundamentals class, And then after we get everybody out of there, I'll go and do my own, little powerlifting workout in the back.
Oh,
and then stretch. I've been there till 10, 11 at night, just keep working, keep training. So, it's really easy to not leave.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, and going back to the thing about the wives or the jiu-jitsu girlfriends, fiancés, wives, whatever the case may be.
Or husbands.
Husbands. Very true. Very true.
There's plenty of world champion girls out there that I'm sure the guys aren't, on the mat as well.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think from the male perspective, just seeing how when we get into it and just the outcome and with physical and mental, right? But just how much it gets you into shape. There's an agent in my office, and she always comes up to me and she says, "Nima, please, can you take my boyfriend to do jiu-jitsu or some type of MMA with you? Please, please, please." She pleads to me, and I ask her why. And she says, he's totally given up on himself. He doesn't work out. He just hangs out at home and plays video games and eats potato chips on the couch. And he's gained 40, 50 pounds or something like that. So I always try to, remind people of this. And I say, hey, look, you can have something like this or like that, So for us, finding something that we're super passionate about and what gets us in the gym, like you said, it keeps us happier. We don't go crazy, right, from the day-to-day stuff. And I mean, obviously they get the physical benefits as well.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of gamers out there, and they love their stuff as much as we love this, but it just never worked for me.
Yeah,
in terms of I can't spend that much time in front of the TV. I can't do the video game thing. One, I get kind of dizzy with the newer games, which is making me sound really old right now. But I can't spend that much time doing it. It's just not that interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I can play for a little bit or watch some TV, but after a while I said, you know what? I have to go do something a little bit more productive with my life. And so I totally agree with you.
I just feel like every time I sit down to watch TV, I'll be thinking to myself, I should be doing these other 5 things. There aren't enough hours in the day for me to feel good about an extended session playing. I don't even know what the hell. I couldn't even cite a current game that people like.
Minecraft is really big. My brother plays Minecraft a lot.
Those are the toys that they have at Fry's and stuff that everything looks like blocks, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I come up to his room sometimes to check on him. He has a tendency to hoard water bottles. He just leaves them up there. So I'll go with a plastic bag and just throw them all in there. And he's just playing this game, Minecraft.
Well, he's hydrated, so that's good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was big on World of Warcraft earlier too.
That's a movie now, right?
I don't have no idea. Is it?
I think it's a movie.
Oh wow.
I haven't seen it, but I haven't heard. It may not have been released yet. Some of these movies do really well that are based on games, and some don't. Right.
I'm trying to think back now which movies I've seen that were based on games. Oh, Final Fantasy. I remember that was there. I didn't really like that movie too much.
The Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat movies were terrible.
Yeah. Well, I remember that from the 90s.
Tomb Raider movies also bad.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles, right? Ninja Turtles was a game first, wasn't it? Or was it a movie first? I don't know.
No, Ninja Turtles is comic books.
Oh, there you go. By the way, did you get to meet Ernie Reyes yesterday?
No, I just met David Faustino, Bud Bundy.
Nice. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, he was, I think, bicep height on me or something like that.
I saw the picture.
It was. I had no idea he was. I didn't know he was tall or short. I had an idea that he wasn't the tallest guy, but I didn't realize I was going to be that much bigger than him.
Yeah,
I figure that they're on TV and he's as big as my TV is. So it's great. He's a really nice guy. He's very cool.
I mean, out of all places, at a San Jose comic book show, that was interesting. Did you grow up in this area?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't know that he did. I think he does lots of appearances for these events and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
There's just a lot of different TV types and whatever that they make appearances. I think they had plenty of artists in there as well. They were doing commissions and selling prints and stuff. So
nice.
There's lots of booths, lots of retro stuff. It was kind of cool. So I was over there at 11 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m., all day basically checking in with Naga, trying to find a match.
Yeah.
And I had cash. I was ready to go. I went to the ATM and I went and had my car washed so I didn't have to pay the parking the first time. So I was like, hey, guy, can I just leave my car here? He's like, yeah, whatever. Just park by the manager. So they washed the car. And then I'm over at Naga and I'm trying to register and they're like, well, there's nobody in your division. How about a brown belt, or maybe we'll ask them if they want to compete with a black belt, or there's this guy that weighs 160 something pounds and maybe he'll want to do it. And when it all came down to it, nothing happened. So what I took away from it though is, I was mainly there to coach you guys.
Yeah.
But going and showing up at that tournament and not getting to compete and having to watch other people compete made me want to compete. So that I was just going to do it, but going and not competing, now I actually want to.
Yeah.
So like if I took anything else away from it, it's that now I really want to go and do it, because the on again, off again, is this happening? Is it not? Now I kind of really want to get out there and smash people.
Yeah, man. I remember watching you at the US Open. That was really exciting for me. That was the first time I actually saw you compete.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy expenditure. Like even at black belt, because the guys you compete against are really fucking good.
Yeah.
And I feel like all the belt levels have sort of a spill off, like a pressure valve.
Mm-hmm.
If you could get so good at white belt, like you're gonna be a blue belt soon. So that level's gonna go to that level. Then you spill off, and then blue belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you can only go so high. When you get to black belt, the masters division is not a spill off. Those are just the guys that have been doing it for a long damn time, and they're really good. So there's guys named Gracie in there. There's guys named Ibiro in there. There's some really great guys in the masters division. Keishinho was in there. Kayotera has been in the masters division already this year. So it's you don't have that pressure release where you do at the lower belts.
True.
But they're sandbagging all the time though. So there's some really good guys at all the belt levels for at the Naga event. There weren't so many black belts competing, but there were certainly a few guys from Team Alpha Male out there in the Nogi.
Yeah, I noticed that. David Mitchell's division.
Yeah, he had some good matches. Yeah, he competed, I think, in 4 divisions. You would pay whatever the fee is, and then you would pay another $20 or $40 for the additional divisions to compete. So he was going to get one match here or one match there. So he just signed up for a bunch of divisions, and as a varsity wrestler or whatever, it was from UC Davis. For him taking that many matches, it's kind of no big deal. It's par for the course. So it's really good. There's some big tournaments coming up. Actually, Pan Am's is coming up in March. I want to say 14th through the 16th or 12th through the 14th.
Nice. Hopefully I can check out that one. The dilemma I have is with the open houses on the weekends and the tournaments subsequently on the weekends, it gets a little difficult for me to attend. So lightweight, like the weekends are my bread and butter. It's the best time, right? Where, hey, I'm holding this house open. People are coming in. They're talking to me. I'm getting clients. People want to learn more about the real estate industry, or they're interested in that property or another one of our properties, or heck, even a property from a different brokerage, and they want me to represent them. So it's so good, right, for my business and growth. But it's hard because these tournaments, usually it overlaps with the tournament. So I always hope that I can get out there early enough to be able to come by. Obviously, yesterday I took the day off, but there's tournaments. I want to keep going to these. I want to support my team, and so it's definitely something that I'm going to have to work out.
So this one, the Pan Jiu-Jitsu tournament, Pan Jiu-Jitsu IBJJF Championships, I believe is in Irvine, California this time, and that runs from the 15th through the 19th. And then depending on your belt level, you very well could compete on Wednesday or Thursday or even Friday. And then
there you go.
Get yourself back here by then.
Nice.
So that one's coming up. Registration's still open. People trying to do that. It's a higher level tournament, and we will certainly give you an idea of where you stand versus your peers. Yeah. If you aren't already training for it, don't do it. And don't sign up at the last minute. You want to know ahead of time. Put your name out there. Put yourself out there. Set it in your mind. This is a goal. We're going to do this. This is a fight. Just signing up last minute, because it comes with built-in excuses, right?
Yeah, that's true.
If you win, you're like, yeah, I barely trained for this. And that's disrespectful to the other athletes. And then if you lose, you're like, yeah, because I barely trained for this thing. Well, if you have that in the back of your head, there should be higher stakes in that. You should want to overcome that obstacle. Like you should, I feel like you're kind of cheating yourself out of an opportunity to put yourself in a sticky situation or a tough situation and feel what it feels like to come out on the other side. I agree.
Yeah, you got to throw yourself out there and be vulnerable and really understand what you're good at and what you need to work on. I mean, that's what I did, and I'm going to start running soon.
Yeah, this when we had Tate Fletcher over here last year, for UFC 200, he made a statement like, "Wouldn't you like to know what it feels like to win at these high level tournaments at every belt?" And we had some people respond to that with a little bit of controversy who didn't receive it that well. You know, that's how you sandbag and blah, blah, blah. No, not necessarily. You don't have to do that. You know, we're not saying, or he wasn't saying, you know, keep guys at belts until they get a world title. What he's saying is that if you encourage your students to compete and, you know, put out there that, yeah, you should put yourself in these situations, because let's say you don't care about a world title in jiu-jitsu. Let's say, for the sake of why you should compete, let's say you don't care about the medals. Let's say you don't care about a belt. Let's say you don't care about being a champion. Let's just say one day you may be responsible for more than just you, for the safety of more than just you. As a guy, you're going to be married soon. Spoiler alert.
Yep.
Sorry, ladies. It's not happening. Dude, he's doing fine. Don't worry about it. Your job changes a little bit. I mean, you go from like selling houses to people and sell, you know, properties and rent and the brokerage stuff, and, you know, running a business eventually, to having to be a full-time protector.
Very true.
And a dad and a husband, all this stuff, right? And you're in a thing right now where you're learning how to defend yourself. And if you just practice it in front of a mirror, or do it like a kata, or do it, you know, because it's pretty or it's fun, or you're just killing time on the place between your work and your house, you're doing yourself a great disservice. Knowing how you feel when pressure is applied, and knowing that you can still operate with that tension.
Oh yeah. When
someone's in front of you and they are white knuckling, trying to grab a hold of you and hurt you, like, you're going to tap because you're being hurt for real. That's why this thing works. We're not playing in jiu-jitsu. Those rear naked chokes, if you don't let go, death happens.
Yeah.
Those arm locks, you're disabled. You have a broken arm now. Leg lock, same thing. You're not going to walk for months. So the stakes are real. Mm-hmm. And in a tournament, you're not like, oh, I'm sorry, bro. Let's start over. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. No, they're going to grab stuff and they're going to break it if you do not tap. So knowing how you operate with those parameters, and that you can still, okay, I gotta move here. I gotta breathe. All right, this guy is stepping this way. I'm going to break the grip, hit the arm drag, go whatever takedown. You gotta, you know, you're aware of your surroundings. Like, oh, we're almost out of bounds. Let me rotate over here. Okay, if I take him down here, he's going to go out of bounds. No bueno. Let me back up a little bit, step off to the side. Now take him down.
Yep.
Just hypothetical, but the idea is that you're still operating under pressure. This is the closest thing you're going to get to real gladiator combat, shy of being in the UFC.
Yeah.
And with a real career and a real business and a family, and you're not 18 years old, and I'm not 18 years old. I don't see either of us in an octagon anytime soon. Spoiler alert. Just going out there and knowing how you do under pressure and competition, it's going to set you up for down the road when, God forbid, something does happen. Yeah. Somebody tries to come at you and grab you and stuff. That jiu-jitsu, because even though there's such a big competition aspect to it, and with the tournaments and the MMA, that it's based on protecting yourself and self-defense, and a lot of this stuff gets lost in the shuffle because it's not as pretty.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I mean, you definitely need to be able to protect a family. I mean, I think, well, I know my father growing up, he always had an axe in the house. Or when I was a kid, he used to have a rifle, but then, you know, I never liked them. And my reason for not liking them is because, you know, watching Bambi, totally throwing myself under the bus here, but, you know, after Bambi's mom got shot, I just was not having it. You know, I wasn't having the whole rifle game in that house. So I'm like, Dad, you got to get rid of that thing, because that's the type of, you know, you killed Bambi's mom, but you got to use that martial arts instead, baby.
You know, the way I feel is that when it comes to guns, and, you know, some people don't like to hear about this, but it's unfortunate they exist. But because they exist, and when it comes to my home or family, I'm not going to talk about politics with anybody. I'm not going to talk about you know, their principles, and that's why they have their own houses.
Right.
That's why they have their own homes and their own families, and if they choose not to have guns in them, then that's their prerogative. In terms of ownership, you know, I'm a proponent of gun safety, and, you know, keep them away from kids, and, you know, locks, and, you know, not allowing them to go into the wrong hands, and you know, safe and proper handling of them, all that stuff, man. But you know, in background checks, however they go about getting them now, if there's something wrong with it, then they should. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, because people like to spin words. But for home protection, I believe in them. I think there's probably a better way to make sure that they are kept away from people that shouldn't have them. But that's the problem with the sort of gun laws, is that the people that get a hold of them are going to break the law anyway. So many of those laws only really apply to, people that aren't going to break the law. So, anybody can have a lapse in judgment. Anybody can do something messed up, and the laws can maybe protect for some of that. But you could just as easily, run someone over with a car. It's easier. Yeah, I mean, just by looking down at your phone or whatever, you're just as likely to kill somebody, more so than picking up a gun and deliberately shooting somebody. So that sounds like I'm very pro-gun and all this stuff. And it sucks that there's violence in the world.
Yeah,
it sucks that people suck. But when it comes to my home, my family, I am for it. I am a gun owner legally. And that's my choice. So if people choose to, not dig that or not dig me for that, I totally understand it. But, that's not going to change my job here.
I heard some really cool things about the new technology on guns. Like, for example, having, it's almost like, you have the Touch ID on your iPhone. It's something similar to the trigger, if this is true. Have you heard of this? You may know better than me with the index finger.
All right. I have a smartphone made by a very large company with a fruit name. Right. I have an iPhone 6, right? And when I go to use their thumbprint thing, it doesn't open sometimes. Or sometimes my thumbprint doesn't do it. It's like move around. You know what I mean? Like it takes a couple tries. Once you enter in, computers and biometrics into things like guns, what if it doesn't work?
That's a good point. I never thought about that.
If let's like I want to take that same the concept of what you just mentioned right here and like the thumbprint trigger thing, and I want to take it to a less hot button topic, if you don't mind. Like the self-defense thing we were talking about earlier, right? If I added biometrics into a self-defense technique, if I added like another step or more technology, and it made it more challenging to perform a maneuver, you're not going to remember it. So if there's a self-defense move and there's 10 steps to it, do this first, do this second, this third, no way. Like some really complicated jiu-jitsu technique with 10 steps.
Yeah.
Under pressure, it is not happening. It has to be simple. It has to be concise. That's what I said. Look, he grabs your kimono, grabs your sleeve, break the grip.
Yep.
You go first. Very simple thing. I speak to you very deliberately and very concisely when we're talking competition right before the tournament. The stuff we drilled weeks out, there might be code names for it. There might be more technical stuff, but this is things that are now muscle memory. If I have to say, do this, either while you're going or right beforehand, that shit's gone because you already are full of adrenaline and testosterone and whatever the fuck else is going, making its way through, as you're about to get out there and fight a dude.
Yeah.
So when I make it very simple, if someone grabs your collar, break that grip. Somebody grabs your sleeve, break that grip. Defend your legs. Up is better than down, right?
Yeah.
Just very simple things.
Yeah, I remember when the referee told us to go, all of a sudden it's like this selective tunnel vision. Like everything around me just blacked out, and you just see right in front of you and what you have to do. Like I remember when we were on the ground scrambling, you were like yelling some stuff, and I bet you, because you can have a pretty loud voice. I've heard you yell before, like when I was right next to you. So I know you can get your point across, but I barely heard you. I don't know if it was everyone else yelling or just when you're just like hyper focused. Everything kind of.
Honestly, it's adrenaline dump and a bunch of stuff just shuts off, and you go into it's like a very primal type thing. Yeah. It's almost like it's silent, but it's not. Like there's like a hollow. It's like having like a glass dome over your head where you hear stuff, but what those things are not penetrating and getting in because you're just like you're right here. You're like you said, hyper focused.
Yeah.
And how do your hands feel after? Like fatigued?
Yeah, my left hand did.
Right.
And going back to what you were saying about being hyper focused, I mean, I remember that Charlie Brown cartoon, and I think it was his teacher when he would talk about. Yeah, that's how it is.
It totally is. It took me getting to like brown belt to where now when I get out on the mat to compete, I'm just kind of, oh cool. oh, we're doing this now. All right, no worries. It's very. I actually like it. I like it when there's a crowd too, which is weird. Before I was like, I didn't want anybody around. I didn't want anybody, any of my friends and my family to see me out there because I'm like, what if I do bad? And I don't want to embarrass myself. But now I'm out there. Well, now I'm out there and I embarrass myself all the time, and I like it. Like I enjoy the whole thing. I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy the crowd. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. People are like, oh, I'm just going to run and run and run, do all this cardio stuff. And, then you go out there and you take 2 steps, get a grip, and all of a sudden you see this bicep vein popping out like a half an inch. You're like, oh no. Like usually your hands are like all crampy. Your grip sucks the day after. Your biceps are like, man, it's like I did like a whole, like, however many curls or whatever you do.
Yeah, totally. And it's so funny because I remember throughout the whole week while we were training, I was with some of the guys at One World. I was doing situational drills. Like, all right, if I take the back, I'm going to try to sink at this RNC. All right, if that doesn't work, I'm going to transition to that bow and arrow. Or if I had him in my guard, all right, I'm going to try to hit this arm bar. If that doesn't work, roll him around, triangle choke or something like that. And it's just so funny because none of that stuff applied when it actually happened.
You didn't do those things.
Yeah, no. I was like, all right, top control, mount, get my hooks in, take his back, get my hooks in, just try to hold him in place and vaguely try to hear what you were telling me to do.
Yeah, there's just so much time you have to actually operate. There's so much of it where you're just sort of, it's not stalling necessarily, but just trying to get a decent grip on the guy or trying to get your position, initiating to begin with, because there's a lot of hand fighting, especially white belt guys aren't wanting to pull guard.
Yeah,
they just don't. Like, they're very proud unless you have like one guy that's definitely a wrestler. There's like a big contrast in strength level, then you'll see the guard pull happen, right? Mm-hmm. But your first match you won 21-0. Second match you lost on points, but you were gassed. You fought him to the end. It was a point thing, but you guys just had the death grip on each other.
Yeah.
And so much energy was focused on like, fuck you, I got this. Fuck you, I got this.
Totally.
And like, instead of doing jujitsu for a lot of it, and this happens all the time, you guys are just kind of having like this kind of strength battle. Like, we're going to fight for this position, which might not even be a great position, but like, you're so like tooth and nail kind of primal adrenaline dump. It's
Absolutely.
Like it's not even the same version of you that's fighting the same version, like the guy that's on the mat at the gym.
Yeah.
Totally different. Like, cause you're not doing the same things. You're just doing whatever you have the muscle memory to remember with the limited, faculties you have left.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we go 5 or 6 rounds straight, 5 to 7 minute rounds, right, on Mondays and Wednesdays. And I was so baffled after that first match that I won. I felt like I just went 5 rounds. Remember, you were looking at me like, Nima, don't sit down, stay up. I just wanted to sit down, and it's not like me. I always prided myself. I'm like, oh, I have good conditioning, I have good cardio. Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, it's a different thing. It's totally different because you're entering in the actual adrenaline dump factor. You're entering in the fact that you go much harder, and you're using way more strength than you would usually. And it's happened to me to where I've just felt like I really did great in my first match. I won. I go out there, go to the second match, and my body just isn't responding anymore. And at some point, you just roll your eyes at yourself, and you're like, "You idiot!" Like, what? And that's the part where it's good to really train. Just beat the shit out of yourself before you train at all. Like when we do all the crazy calisthenics. And really just drain ourselves to nothing, then roll at the end, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
So I like to push my guys in the morning class to just to beat the crap out of them in the warm. But first off, I don't want them getting hurt. It's cold, so I like to gradually warm the bodies up, whatever. But before we don't roll until everybody's pretty much drained, and that's deliberate, man.
Yeah, I think that's great that you did that. I remember there was a few times during the holidays when you put the class on, remember? And then I feel like we did warm-ups for at least an hour in a few of those sessions.
It was
drills and warm-ups.
I do a lot of drilling, a lot of situational stuff. It's the repetition's deliberate, because if you don't put it in, even if you can sort of mimic the move, you don't know it. Mm-hmm. You're not really doing because what's the difference between just doing an arm bar when we're just, okay, 20 arm bars, 40 arm bars, whatever the hell the number is, and then doing it on somebody that's as good as you.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to do that if you aren't going to put in the reps. And that happened. That's from everything from situational stuff to escapes to the attacks to the just moving around.
Yeah, that's very true. And speaking of repetition, one of the funniest things of yesterday, even though I was so tired after that match, as you recall, when we initially started, I tried to do that judo throw. And then afterwards, you're like, hey, how often do you do that judo throw that you attempted? Because, by the way, full disclaimer, I didn't get it. And I said, oh, rarely ever. And you're like, yeah, don't do that again. It goes back. Like, I don't know. All of a sudden I wanted, he had his arm out there and I was thinking, you know, some Jake Bell situational drills. I wanted to kind of toss this guy over my shoulder, but it didn't work. And I'm glad I was able to regain position after that.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, he's gonna get his back taken.
Yeah.
You somehow got up and just beasted on him, which was tremendous. No, but it was a Hail Mary. You could tell you were already tired.
Yeah.
You could tell you were already like, oh shit, how much time's left? And you were up on points.
What am I going to do with this guy? You know, it's so funny. It's different. It's totally different from.
We're drilling arm drags next.
Yeah,
next
please. And thank you, Jake. Shout outs to Jake Bell. Thank you so much for doing all those stand up takedown drills. Definitely applicable.
A lot of what happens with a lot of the takedowns and throws and stuff on the mat, man. In the gym, it's fine, but when you get out there and the guy has a death grip on you, trying to get past their hands, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at David's match, he went that black belt. He wound up losing in the advanced division by like 2 points.
Oh, yeah.
He would shoot a takedown. His hands were just in his face. He just couldn't get past his hands, and it was very frustrating. As a bigger guy, forget all that. Forget the size. Forget the belt. Forget all these things. He was just disruptive. He was able to get his hands in his face. It's hard to get in there, and especially under pressure. So doing the takedowns and things you've drilled, you put them in your A game. Those are the moves you do in competition. If you need to go for a Hail Mary, it's like there's 30 seconds left. Do something.
Yeah.
I think I yelled that at you, actually. I was like, there's 10 seconds left. Like, literally do anything.
Do something. I
was like, literally do anything.
Yeah.
Not that.
I'm going to save my flying armbar, my flying bone arrow choke for next time.
Dave actually went for one on that guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He attempted the flying armbar.
Nice. How well did he do? I wasn't really.
He defended it. The guy defended it. Man, did you see the Gary Tonin, the guy that caught him with the flying armbar?
No.
The guy that he went against, I don't know his name. I'm very sorry, but the guy, Gary loses flying armbar. It was Antonio Carlos Jr.'s flying triangle. Gary Tonin, I'm sorry, it was a flying triangle.
Wow.
But
that's some Shaw business right there.
Yeah, I like the flying armbar. Where is it? Oh, here it is. It was at SUG 3.
Oh, that's what's his name's Chael Sonnen?
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
There's another flying armbar. I saw. I think it was like an ADCC match where the guy, he jumps up from the flying armbar but spins underneath him and almost does it like, you know, when you're doing a closed armbar from guard and you can take, instead of hooking the near leg, you hook the far leg and spin under him. Have you done that one before?
No.
Never? Okay, cool.
This one's cool. Wow.
That'll have to be a video. Yeah. And I mean, Gary Tonin, he's one of the best in the world right now. He's super, super aggressive, awesome leg locks, down to her death squad guy. Yeah. And then this guy, I didn't know this guy, and he hopped up and grabbed the flying triangle to tap him. Man,
that's, you know, what's really interesting. It's seeing gi jiu-jitsu, and then you see the no gi jiu-jitsu, and then you see the likes of like Damian Maia in MMA jiu-jitsu, right? With that grease, you know, that friction, and just seeing how big of a difference it is when you're shirtless or when you have a rash guard on, right?
Totally. So
much more respect for these guys who can make guys tap like in the UFC or Bellator or whatever, just straight MMA jiu-jitsu. It's awesome.
It's just it's the level. It's the level of the practitioner, the level of the coaching, and that moves are done deliberately. I feel like a big part of jiu-jitsu that's left off many times is why, and it comes down to intention. Just like when we were talking earlier about why are you doing this kind of thing with jiu-jitsu? Like, do you just do it on the way home, between work and home, or just being very deliberate. Why are we using certain positions? Why do we do certain things? And a very basic version of that is when we're doing closed guard pass drill, right?
Yeah.
The guy on the top and the guy on the bottom both have their jobs. It's distance and space management, right? The guy on the top wants posture. He wants space. The guy on the bottom doesn't. He wants to eliminate that space. He wants to break that person down. So a lot of times you're like, okay, guard pass drill, go. They just sort of open their guard immediately. You're like, wait, no, that's not what the guard's for. And people that think, oh, closed guard is old school and blah, blah, blah. No, you're doing it wrong. I promise you're doing it wrong. It saves lives. It's the basis of jiu-jitsu. It's what differentiates this from judo. We have the guard. Mm-hmm. They don't just stand you up. You use it to break someone down, and you're on the bottom, but you're able to get something back.
Yeah. I got a question for you. Based just with that extensive jiu-jitsu knowledge that you have, if there were to be, let's say, the submission underground, if there was a grappling match between Damian Maia and Jacare Ronaldo Souza, who would you have?
It depends on what part of their career, really.
Let's say today.
I don't know, man. I'd have to see them stand up next to one another. Mm-hmm. I feel like with all the MMA training they're both doing right now, it's hard to see. I'd like to see them both at the height of their pure jiu-jitsu sort of training. That'd be I don't know if they haven't already fought, right? So
yeah, I have no idea either. It's just I think of those guys when I see them with their jiu-jitsu, like those are the guys that just have me like oohing and eyeing. And
yeah, so Damian Maia's beat him in ADCC, and that was a long ass time ago, 2007, mm-hmm. right? So it's hard to say.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, present day, but they're both amazing. I'm a big fan of both guys.
It's like São Paulo versus Rio de Janeiro.
Where are they right now? I thought Jacare was Curitiba. He's not Curitiba.
I think you would know better than me. I always knew Curitiba as like Cyborg, Vanderlei, Anderson.
Ooh, wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. Before I look, I'm going to just take a guess here. Jacare, let's say Manaus. Fighting out of Brazil.
Manaus, there you go.
Is it Manaus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just sort of his look. If I had to guess one, I was like, okay, it's probably Manaus. It's Manaus. Okay. Yeah,
man, those guys, I mean, they just, the more and more I do jiu-jitsu, the more impressed I am with these types of practitioners and just watching their videos. And I mean, like when you see grappling matches a lot of the time in the UFC, people start booing, boo, this is boring, get on the ground, fight, strike, and it just takes away from the art form that is jiu-jitsu. I'm like, dude, you guys got to understand it's not just, who spills out more blood. You got to really be a fan of this, right? A fan of the martial arts.
Yes. First of all, this the sort of the booing the grappling and booing the clinch and all this sort of thing is a very American thing. Mm-hmm. If you watch any of these Japanese promotions, and they'll cheer the transition from guard to half guard or half guard to side control. They will cheer that, and there's almost a quiet over the crowd during the fight. It's a different level of sort of, I don't want to say like respect, but like reverence. Like they really revere these athletes as larger than life. Like they do this not just for the MMA or jiu-jitsu. They also do it for sumo and professional wrestling.
Interesting.
So the pro wrestling in Japan is big. It's always been big. A lot of these guys that after the big stints in the American pro wrestling, they wind up in Japan. And there's many MMA guys that have done both. Sakuraba, some Daniel Gracie, I want to say, is doing it. Two of the Gracies. Josh Barnett is an active pro wrestler right now and has been for a very long time, off and on.
I remember that from his Embedded when he fought. Last time he fought. He was talking about that.
So 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, Josh Barnett challenged for the Impact Wrestling heavyweight title on Pop TV.
Nice.
Against another MMA guy, Bobby Lashley.
I haven't heard of him.
Bobby Lashley's fought, I want to say, in Bellator and maybe Strikeforce and some other promotions. He was a WWE guy. He was an amateur wrestler. He's the muscle guy.
Damn, son. He looks like Yoel Romero.
A bit. He's way bigger. He's way bigger. He's a 250 pound guy, right. 6'2", and he's got is he undefeated? That's crazy. There's a couple guys that have fought MMA, did wrestling. Dave Batista, the guy that played Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's actually got quite a few wins.
You know, it'd be awesome next time when we do this podcast if you had your Periscope. I don't know. Do you still do Periscope?
I haven't in a little while, but I have it, right?
Yeah.
So we'll definitely do that again. We need to get another round table of guys in here. And I mean, honestly, this was supposed to be initially a, how do you want to call it? The fight companion.
Yeah.
For the UFC event last night, which, why do it, on the ones when Joe Rogan's doing a fight companion? Because we're watching that one.
True. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the ones when Joe Rogan is not doing a fight companion, why wouldn't we do one? I feel like by being live during those events that, people that are out there and into this stuff, they can have a place to connect with and, and go through and have a little fun with us. So
yeah, that would have been a lot of fun if we did a fight companion for the Tyrone Woodley and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight. But I really wanted to see Khabib, man. I was so bummed out about that. Khabib with his papaja. I wanted him to walk out with his papaja. Papaja, by the way. That's you know who taught me that? Artem.
I love Artem.
Yeah. And right before my tournament, actually, I was super stoked because Artem sent me a picture with his papaja on his head, and he's like, "Good luck." So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. So papaja. So how do it's Nurmagomedov?
Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov. Yeah. Dagestan, man. Those guys from Dagestan. I mean, we've all seen that video of Khabib when he was like, 7 or 8 years old wrestling the bear?
I have seen that.
Yeah. Those guys, in that southern part of Russia, I mean, there was so much conflict and politics, where they were initially separatists, right, with the Chechens, and they told them if you fight against, certain forces that Russia would grant them independence, and that didn't end up happening. But then now you see this place that's kind of like semi-autonomous, and these guys, I mean, they're fighting in the streets. My dad's been to that area before, and the way he described it is crazy. I mean, these guys really grow up like survival mode. In a way, it almost reminds me of watching City of God and years back, with Rio and the favelas. I mean, these guys have those equivalences. Granted, it's not necessarily the drug trade per se. It's more like the fight for survival. I mean, these guys are just tough as nails.
Absolutely, man. I haven't seen that movie in a while. First time I saw it was in the Portuguese version, and I saw it again with the subtitles, and it's kind of weird. I liked watching just in Portuguese. It was kind of a learning tool for me. So that one, like Tropa de Elite, but yeah, it's these guys grow up tough as nails. Khabib, especially, I really wanted to see that fight. I want to see him out there on that stage. We didn't get to see him against El Kukui, but honestly, I just wanted to see him fight. What I really want to see, I really, really want to see? I want to see Khabib against Conor in Russia.
Yes. I mean, they've been flirting around with this, right? If he would have beat Tony Ferguson, have them have a super fight in Russia, that would be huge. I remember Tony Ferguson taunting him. He's like, yeah, you and your 1.9 million Instagram followers. I mean, it goes back to just how much of a backing he has. I mean, I see pictures with him and the leader of Chechnya. I forget his name. But yeah, they're just hanging out. Like, this guy rolls deep, man. Like, he knows some guys will make you disappear, put it that way. The leader of the whole republic, like, they just hang out and do sambo together. It's pretty gnarly.
Hey, man, I think it would be, honestly, a great, it could be a great tool to de-escalate things between the U.S. and Russia, just having this title fight and everybody kind of bond over these guys beating the shit out of each other. We don't need a Cold War.
Yeah.
You can take the American UFC, with a Russian fighter working for this American company against this guy from Ireland. And I mean, it's not USA versus Russia. It's USA and Russia just putting on a show for everyone. If it was just like a Russian athlete against an American athlete, maybe that'd be one thing. But I think this is a good way to bring everybody together and just have a good time and, take these, what are basically two of the best guys in the world.
Yeah.
The two best guys in the world at that class. And
initial guy, you get your classic striker versus grappling. Now, obviously, both of them have tried to transition onto the other side, but what are they known for? Conor, right? He's known for that left cross, his Celtic cross, and Khabib with the wrestling.
It's Celtic.
Sambo. Yeah.
It's Celtic cross.
Celtic, my bad. And and going back to Naga yesterday, I remember talking to David Mitchell when we were watching the Nogi together, and David Mitchell was like, yeah, see, most of these guys are wrestlers. Because I asked him, like, I noticed some of these guys, they're not wearing rash guards. Why would they wear a t-shirt over a rash guard? And he's like, oh yeah, some of them are wrestlers. And he's like, just watch though, they're not going to tap out. And the first thing I thought about was Khabib after he beat Johnson. And they were interviewing him, and he put his papacha on Joe Rogan's head.
That's awesome.
And then he says, your guy, he tapped like chicken. Your guy tapped like chicken. And it totally reminds me of what Dave said about, wrestlers not tapping. I guess it's frowned upon.
He's also Russian, so
yeah.
It's
that's it. You tap because yeah. I remember meeting his team for the very first time when I was down there at AKA San Jose. I was training over there, and we were all in the locker room. And I'm like, oh, I'm a huge fan of Khabib. It's nice. He goes, hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Like his brother and their whole team, they were shaking my hand. Sorry, obviously I'm butchering the Russian accent. My apologies. But then I told him, I'm like, my family, we're from Iran. I'm living over here. And then he goes, oh, it's really nice to meet you then. Like that. And those guys, man, they roll so deep, and they just have like this cultural thing. It's like this brotherhood, right? I remember watching the Embedded video when he pulled up to AK San Jose. They had this huge car. He rolls like a dozen deep just to train. He has his Muay Thai coach, he has his family, the other coach, the Sambo guys. Like these guys are no joke, man.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see him out there. And I didn't even care who he was fighting this week. I just really wanted to see him get out there and get that kind of limelight and get those high dollar, high exposure fights. I just want to see him out there. He's at his prime, and I think he's going to be as good as he wants to be right now. And as soon as whatever the weight thing is cleared up and they're able to book something, I'm going to be really excited to see whatever happens next for him.
Yeah,
big fan. Man, the one event which is pretty controversial. So yeah, the Wonder Boy fight, that awesome fight. No one sort of expected that to go any other way. I expected that fight to go exactly how it did. Pretty back and forth, fun. These are two of the best guys. But the most interesting thing I saw this entire weekend, besides your competition and all the awesome jiu-jitsu and stuff at Naga, would have been Mark Hunt and then Overeem, as well as the announcement that George St Pierre is going to be returning to challenge for the UFC middleweight title against
Michael Bisping.
Count Bisping. How the hell did this happen? First of all, second of all, that the press conference, the announcement, Michael Bisping showing up late, and I don't know if he was drunk or not, but that was funny as hell. Did you catch that?
Yeah, parts of it. It's so interesting to me to see this stuff, man. Like I see a guy like Yoel Romero, you thought he would be getting the title shot. And it totally brings back to, I remember one thing that you said about how similar the UFC can be to professional wrestling, right? It's dollar sales, it's ticket sales, right? I mean, I think Yoel Romero has earned a shot, or Jacare, one of those guys, against Bisping. Then all of a sudden, GSP comes back and immediately takes a title shot.
What are we being fed right now? Why it's not Yoel? Like, what's the current state of Yoel Romero? Is there an injury? Is there a failed test? Like, where are we?
I don't think so. I remember he had that failed test against Jacare right at UFC 194, but I think he was cleared. I think he showed that it was a tainted supplement and it wasn't on his end or something like that, and they reduced his suspension.
Is this more dick pills? More rhinos?
Possibly.
That's a thing now, guys. These guys are going crazy over that thing. Like after Anderson Silva had his dick pill gate, Rhino gate. Can we call it Rhino gate?
That's good. Yeah,
Rhino gate. Those guys are crazy with that stuff, man. That's it's not going to be on the market forever. Then you have the FDA playing cat and mouse with it because they sell these things. There's actual like Cialis, Viagra in them. That's why they sell for $20 a piece. They're
the ones at the liquor store.
They're actual dick pills. Yeah,
wow.
They're not just supplements. It's not just a bunch of ginseng anymore. They actually put the stuff in there. They make them in China. They call them a supplement, and then they and then they that's why it's Rhino 1, Rhino 2, Rhino 3, and there's all the different company making them.
Quote unquote proprietary blend.
The proprietary blend. It's all it is. And then these guys are, what they're saying is, okay, the factory that makes those. Maybe the pill before that when that conveyor belt system, that the factory, the machine that actually puts the junk in the pills, right before that, maybe some other steroid pills were sold, being manufactured on the same machine.
Oh, I see.
Clean your machines.
Yeah.
Word. Come on. Rhino Dick Pill Company, clean your machines. And fighters that are on the hook to pass USADA testing, stop with the dick pills.
And by the way, yeah, totally. And speaking of guys who get caught up for stuff, while we were waiting, when we were kind of discussing about the whole Mark Hunt situation, while we were waiting for the mics to warm up, him suing the UFC, right, because of the whole Brock Lesnar thing. And then I thought that was kind of interesting.
So here's, I have both sides of the perspective here, and I can see pros and cons for both things. First of all, you're going to take a guy that is suing you, and you're going to employ him again. Why would you do this? One, if the lawsuit was valid and he was really afraid for his life or really felt that he was that mistreated, why would he opt to take an additional fight? So I feel like it hurts Mark Hunt by continuing to contract to them. And then the second side of that thing would be, why would Mark Hunt expose himself to that same thing again? They said, do you think he was saying that Overeem is a cheater? And all this sort of thing, and that if this happens again, he'll sue him or something like that. But why would any of these people put themselves in the situation after there's already an active lawsuit? Yeah. I don't know. I've always been a Brock Lesnar fan. I just think he's fucking impressive, man. He's an impressive dude. Yep. And the lawsuit sucks, and whether they knew or they didn't know, or if there was wrongdoing, and if Brock should give up his purse to Mark Hunt, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not in there looking at documents. I wasn't there when any of this stuff happened. But for Mark Hunt, surely, I can't fathom a situation where either of these parties, either Mark Hunt or the UFC, would want to continue doing business with one another, regardless of the contract that's on the table.
Yeah, it's definitely awkward. Yeah,
I can't. I can imagine he has to. Okay, first of all, yes, he has to pay his family. He has to pay to keep the family afloat. He's a family man. Full respect and admiration for him stepping up and doing that. But does he? I would have liked to have heard his conversation with his attorney leading up to this. I can't think of a reason why this would be a good idea.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
We just hit the hour mark, and I think the video just cut out. So a lot of fun stuff this weekend, man. Real quick before we go, this is the Ninja Realtor. And if you're in the market for a new home, Nima Moridi.
That's me.
He's your guy.
Facebook.com/Moridi Realty. Find me on Instagram at Instanames. I always try to put out good content for people, not too many boring real estate articles, but videos of me doing stuff, open houses, showing homes, things like that. I always think about the viewer and what's good for the viewer and what's in it for them and how I can get them to tune in. So yeah, check me out. Support. Much love.
Yeah. So check him out. And again, congrats, silver medal, first competition. Smoked the first guy, 21-0. Fun match to watch. Congrats to everybody who stepped up and fought this weekend. I'm going to make my return to competition. I want to say the American Cup. I don't know that I'm going to be doing pans. I got to do some other stuff like work and put out awesome content for all you guys out there. Again, thanks to everybody for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure and subscribe. If you're watching this on iTunes, go ahead and subscribe, share, like, send it to your friends. And if you have any suggestions, comments, questions, shoot them on over. I'm at Clint Cronin on Instagram, everywhere else too. Snapchat, Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but I'll tweet. If you tweet me, I'll tweet back. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Everybody be good to each other, to yourselves. Keep training, work hard, do your thing.
Yes. All right. In and out from Sunnyvale, California, y'all.